Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off, online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we are joined by a very special guest, host of the Athletes Podcast, Dave Stark. The Athletes Podcast is a podcast where they talk to high-performing current and former athletes, nutritionists, and health experts to do the best they possibly can be through their experiences. Welcome to the show, the Athletes Podcast, of very own Dave Stark. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jack. Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So good to get you on. It's going to be a fun one. So let's get this thing started.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So like, how's life been for you with all like this COVID stuff, and like how's not like normal for us since this is a pandemic going on? It's like, how have you been doing with that? And like, what's COVID like around you?
Yeah, so I'm in St. Catharines, Ontario. So COVID's hit us pretty hard, man. We've been having to deal with the regulations that are in place, trying to work around it as much as I can. Like we were mentioned previously, I host the podcast for the athletes, and that's my kind of passion project, right? It stemmed from, I have an interest in learning from professional athletes, high performers, and what they do to become the best athletes that they can be. So I still work a full-time job, and then the podcast is on the side, just having fun with it. And I'm trying to find ways that I can connect with people outside and through finding the loopholes that are involved with COVID right now. Obviously, you can't go out and do all the things that we're normally able to do, but I'm not using it as an excuse, right? We're just trying to get after it as much as we can and do as the most we possibly can with what we have to offer.
Yeah, exactly. And just throughout all this time, like you have to do anything you can to make a bright spot, because let's be honest, this whole thing sucks, and like it's not normal what we're going through. So it's good to get that good to find that bright spot. And like the podcast, like for you, like you said, it has been huge for especially during this time to figure stuff out and just have it be something that people can look forward to. And same with this podcast. Like it's really picked up during this time because like it's a passion, and like it's also a good thing to bring to bring to people, especially during this time. And podcasting is fun, so it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, dude, man, it's awesome. I mean, people are always asking, how do you have the time to do this? What are you spending your time on? And man, like you go to work, you grind. After work, you do some research on whoever you're interviewing that week, and it's so much fun, man. You're able to add levity to people's life. This is having the ability to affect someone's car ride or make them smile or give them a chuckle throughout their day. That's what I love being able to do, man. And an opportunity to just create these relationships and build a network of people that are like-minded and have similar aspirations.
Yeah, exactly. And I was researching you, and you're a sports guy. So like, what sports did you grow up liking? Like, did you play like any like give us like a little background like on like the athlete you were or you are
Sure.
right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I never actually played anything at a super high level. I basically played every sport growing up in high school. Played hockey, played golf, played basketball, all three relatively competitively. But man, I even played cricket in high school and like played volleyball, did it, football, like you name it. I basically did it. Ended up going to the Vancouver Island. I'm originally from Vancouver, BC. Went to Vancouver Island, did a little junior B training, never actually even played. But I was attendee growing up, same as you. So yeah, I just had a desire to work with athletes and learn from them. And, obviously I could never make it to that next level. So I decided I'd just talk with people and shoot the shit with them. And now I just, play beer league hockey. I play golf with the buddies, and, I try and do as much as I possibly can to stay active and fit. Obviously I host an athletes podcast, so I got to make sure that I look the part and stay in shape and do all those things that you're supposed to do. But it's a balance in my life now of being performance, wellness, and lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. And what made you become a attendee? Because I get that question a lot. Why do you become a goaltender and have pucks fired at you?
Man, that's a good question. No one else wanted to play goalie. As my first season of playing hockey, kind of with everyone together, and no one else wanted to strap on the pads. And I'm like, man, screw it, let's do it. My first save ever, actually, guy was coming down and just took a clapper from the blue line, and I fell right on my ass and stopped it with the bottom of my feet, like the most unconventional save you can ever imagine. But right there, I was sold, man. I didn't even have to do any work, fell on my ass and still made the save, and I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, a save's a save. Doesn't matter how how it happens, as long as it doesn't get back in the net, then I believe you're fine.
Exactly. That's the same with golf, man. There's no pictures on the scorecard, right? As long as you stop the puck or as long as you put the ball in the hole, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And just like you, but when I chose to be attendee, it was from like a stick and puck. My friend was a goalie, and he's like, you should try. So like I went to a stick and puck with him, tried the gear on, and like made some saves. So like ever since then, it's like it became like a passion, like the position I want to play. But I do enjoy playing out
Yeah.
occasionally. Like
Yeah, I've
I
played it. But man, nothing beats the thrill of stopping a puck and robbing a guy, throwing a huge windmill save in there. Like, I don't know. There's something about the position. It's tough to describe, but goalies know what it's like, and we just have a passion for it. You're
yeah
kind of the quarterback on the ice, right? And a lot of
yeah
people recognize it, and they undervalue the position of a goaltender, but it's crucial, man.
it is. And I was a forward all throughout high school too. So it's weird that I just recently made the switch to goalie like 6 years ago. So
Damn, good for you.
yeah, and like it's still fun scoring goals on other goalies. Like I still enjoy skating out. Hockey's a fun sport.
Yeah, totally. Hockey's the best, man. That's why it's one of our nation's sports, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like how important is being the best athlete you can be to you, and like how much do you pride yourself as an athlete and trying to be the best as well as like helping others learn how to be the best.
Yeah, that's a good question. It is super important. So, to give you some backstory, back it up about 9 months, 10 months. In January of 2020, I was sitting at like 210, 211 pounds, was just out of shape, right? Overweight. And I realized, if I'm going to host an athlete's podcast, I got to look the part. And so I dialed it in, man. I started grinding. I was doing Murphs every day. I tracked my calories. I was working out consistently. I was resistance training. I was doing cardio. I was doing everything you got to do, right? And obviously the pandemic actually helped with that in the sense that it gave me an opportunity to dive right in. I was focused on what I was doing, and it it's not easy, and people always think that you can, you can get in shape, and there's a difference between getting into shape and then staying in shape and having it consistent over a long period of time. I was just chatting with Adam Schaefer, who's on Mind Pump. I don't know if you've heard of that podcast, but they strive for, longevity, sustainability, wellness, lifestyle, and that's what I've come to terms with. And I realize now it's not about like, so to bring it back, I dropped 25 pounds. I got to like 180, felt really good, way healthier. I was to the point where I was actually kind of shredded, and the first time I've ever been like that. Right. So, but I realized that's, I want to have that healthy lifestyle so that I can showcase it to others and what it can benefit, how much it can benefit other people by being healthy, active, staying moving, keeping your performance up. But there's so many different factors that, physical activity benefits you outside of just going through that workout. Your mental ability is increased. Your relationships with people are better. Like it's, health and wellness is a huge factor in my life now, and I want to share that with others.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, good for you. Like, what do you do to like get yourself down in weight? Like, what do you do in the gym? What do you do like nutrition wise, and just help yourself out?
Yeah, so I started working with a nutritionist for a little bit. He got me down to sort of explain, when you're going through a cut, like what people call it, you're trying to lose some weight. You obviously got to dial back the calories in that you're taking in, right? So calories in versus calories out is essentially what it takes for your body to survive when it comes on a biological level. So, I dialed back to eating 2,200 calories, making sure that my protein's high so that I kept my muscle where it needs to be. So eating a gram per pound of body weight. So hitting 200 grams of protein. And then outside of that, it's, you can fill that with your carbs and fats however you want. So, a lot of people get super strict on their diet and, are only eat these certain foods. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's calories in versus calories out. So I dialed it in, 200 grams of protein, made sure I was eating that day, a lot of egg whites, eggs, chicken, that kind of stuff. And then from a training standpoint, I was trying to do whatever I possibly could. I work out with F45. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a functional 45-minute workout. Those are awesome. It's cardio kind of based. And then I do a lot of resistance training, man. I spend time in the gym, and it's not hours on end, but it's the consistency. It's 3, 4, 5 days a week, depending on what your goals are, how you're trying to get after it. And, following a program and sticking to it, making sure you're progressively overloading on your body, and just staying true to what you're trying to get after, right? Like a lot of people will go through, they spend 2 weeks, they think they're doing a great job, and then they fall off the wagon. But it takes going there day in and day out, following what you're eating on a schedule and making sure that you're consistent. And that's how you're going to see the end result.
Yeah, exactly. And I think quarantine helped a ton, especially for like you said earlier, like a lot of other people, like there was really nothing else to do besides if you have a gym at home, or even if you do body weight stuff with nothing, like you could have done something. And like I did the same thing. Like I worked out like pretty much the entire quarantine. Like I'm still working out now. So consistency is huge, dude. And it's, you just gotta keep doing it consistently. You can't just stop out of nowhere. You have to keep doing it. And I've heard things that like you gotta be doing it. It can't be part-time. It has to be full-time. Like the rest of your life, if you want to stay in shape, you gotta keep doing what you're doing and keep working out. So that's how you're going to keep staying consistent.
Yeah. It's just day in and day out, man. It's consistency is key, and trying to get a little bit better every single day, even if it's 1%, you recognize the fact that, hey, I went to the gym today, I ate healthy today. That's a positive, right? And having that growth mindset, knowing that you're constantly improving, is essential.
Yeah, exactly. So how important was nutrition for you that you learned, like even throughout your podcast through like the nutritionist? Like how important is nutrition to be a good performer?
It's crazy. I didn't realize how important nutrition was, and I still don't, man. I undervalue it at times. Like, I'm doing stupid shit. Like, man, on the weekend I crushed 5 junior chickens for a YouTube video, like this stupid shit. But You know what, you gotta live a little and have some fun, right? But man, breaking it down even from like your gut biome and how that affects your brain and your mental health, it's crazy, and you can dive so deep into it. I'm going to actually be working with Dr. Callum on Callum Cowan, who's a MPH. He's actually a nutritionist as well. He's going to break down sort of what foods I should be eating, what I shouldn't be eating, how I'm going to benefit from those things. So it's essential though. It's fuel for your body at the end of the day. So if you're putting crap in, your engine's not going to run well, right? So, every time you think about what you're putting into your body, you have to recognize the fact that this is going to be what my body is using to run, to operate, and to move itself. So if it's using a cheeseburger instead of chicken, rice, and broccoli, think about the nutrients that are in that cheeseburger compared to the chicken, rice, and broccoli, right? So it's essential. And I highly recommend, if you haven't done it yet, for those listening, that you go out, you check out, and just track what you eat in a day. Track what you eat every day for a week and see what it looks like at the end of that week. Track your calories. And if at the end of that week, if you're staying within a good range, depending on what your goals and body type is, obviously there's going to be variances and there isn't one blanket solution, but find out what works for you. Check out what your stool looks like. If you've got some issues in your gut and you're having troubles digesting, then you probably should avoid or eliminate that food, right? That's my biggest recommendation, is just, figure out what works for you and then stick to that for a bit. See the benefits that come from it in the weeks and months that follow.
Yeah, exactly. And just nutrition is a huge part of being a successful athlete and like performing like at the best level you can be. Like I've learned that throughout like all of our interviews, and I never really thought of that until we started like talking about like nutrition, all that. And it's like it's super important. It really helps keep your body going and like put you in the best shape possible to play at your best. And it's definitely like I definitely like would go to like fast food restaurants every like probably once a week, like a year or two ago. But now
Mm-hmm.
like I haven't been to a fast food restaurant in like 5 months. Like
Yeah,
it
dude, that's what
just doesn't go with me anymore.
yeah. Well, and now quarantine, we've identified that, a lot of people now enjoy cooking at home and making their own meals and, creating what they're eating during their day. There's a fun aspect to it, right? And you can make meals that you enjoy and you feel good after eating, compared to feeling like shit after crushing a Whopper, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it just doesn't feel right anymore. Like I want to perform at the best I can. So it's like it's not even good to me anymore. So it's definitely changed, and we would not have expected that a year from now, that I'd hate fast food. But here we are today saying I hate fast food.
Yeah, eliminating processed food is probably the number one, the biggest rock I can suggest to anyone if you want to perform and start to just see results automatically. Eliminating that processed food, eliminating the majority of your sugars from your diet, the artificial sugars, those are two big rocks that if you move those, you're going to be looking better.
Exactly. So like what are some of the other important values that you've gotten through like talking to everyone, learning from your experiences as well?
A loaded question, man. Honestly, the thing I've noticed, we're 57, 58 episodes in now, and I recognize the fact that it just takes hard work, dedication, and I know that sounds cliche. So I want to give a better answer than that, but identify what you want to do. At the end of the day, you're only going to be what you work hard and work towards being. It's not going to come to you easily. Nothing's going to happen. You and I aren't these freak athletes that can go out there, run around. We're not a Jonathan Quick that can slide across the net in a full splits and rob those saves. Like, we're not those guys. And, most of the people that listening probably aren't as well. And that's not a knock, but, we have to work hard. We're not the LeBron James of the world that are they're 6'8" and they're shredded and you can get after it whenever you want. You got to work hard. You got to figure out what your best what is the best program for you? What is the best nutrition? Like there's so many different variables. Like I could get into the fact that, you got to sleep, man. That's a huge factor. So that's the biggest thing that's actually been brought up, probably, I'd say, is sleeping. A lot of people undervalue the importance that sleep can provide, and it's a huge factor. So making sure that you set those goals for what you want to accomplish and don't stop until you get there, man. There's so many cliches that everyone said it, and there isn't one specific thing that I can say is the best way or that I've learned talking with these athletes and coaches, but finding what you want to do in life and going after it is something that I've learned recently is so rewarding. And even if you don't get there, it's the process of going through that experience, learning from what you've done, talking with people who are like-minded, who have similar aspirations. Those are the kinds of conversations that you want to have to get to where your end goal is.
Yeah, exactly. And like talent could only take you so far. Like if you don't work hard, like you're not going to get there. So it's all about the hard work and the commitment that you have to getting better each and every day. That'll lead you to a path where you could have an opportunity to do something big. And just like you said, sleep. Like I've also heard that's super important, and it's definitely hard to get like 8 hours sometimes, but like as long as you get the most that you possibly can, like don't stay up till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, then I think that's a good thing, that a good routine to have.
Yeah, and it's not even like it is. I shouldn't say that. It is hard if you're not prioritizing it. So diving into what your priorities are is probably how I should have answered that question originally. If your goal is to be the best freaking athlete that you can be, then you know what? You should be looking at what you're putting in your body, how much you're sleeping, what your recovery looks like. The list goes on. But if that's not your goal, and your goal is to be the best video game player that you want to be, then you know what? Spend 16 hours a day playing those video games. And you know what? From a performance standpoint, sleeping is definitely important. Even if your reaction time is going to suffer if you don't sleep. So identify what your end goal is, establish your priorities, and follow through with them.
Yeah, I was just looking at something on Instagram like before we got on, and one of the goalies we had on who plays in the coast right now, he's like dreams or make a plan for like reality, and it's like prioritize your priorities, and then make a plan to how you're going to achieve those goals. So I think that fits right into what we were just talking about, and like how like even these athletes just planned. It didn't happen by chance. Like they planned every step of the way to make themselves a successful athlete and to compete at the highest level that they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely interesting to hear that and then tie that back together.
Definitely.
Yeah. So going back to like sports a little bit, like when you were like younger, it's like who like influenced you to play sports, especially when like you're younger, and like what made you really fall in love with the games you've played?
Man, I've always been super competitive. I love to win. I love to compete, and I enjoy being physically active, moving and learning. I think that's where my passion and desire to play sports came from. I don't know if it was necessarily one individual in particular. It was a variety of different factors, and I knew that I loved to win, and sports was a tool that I could use to get to the winning, right? And you spend so much time practicing, training to play these different sports and to stay active and stay mobile, and that's where it all stems from, is just the desire to compete and to win. And honestly, learning from that whole process. You're never gonna be the best unless you continue to try, right? Like there's so many people that'll go through different sports and they think that, oh, I'm gonna try this, and if I'm not good, I'm gonna quit. And like, man, what the hell's the point in that? Like, you're not going to learn anything by going through and saying, oh, I suck at hockey, I'm never going to play it again because I couldn't score goals. Man, okay, identify why you couldn't score goals. I wasn't fast enough. Okay, so maybe I got to work on my speed. I couldn't shoot the puck. I couldn't raise it high enough. I, couldn't go bar down, right? Whatever it is, practice it. Figure out why you couldn't succeed and what's holding you back. Identify those things and then work on them so that when you are in a position to shoot, when you are in a position to use your speed, you can use it and you take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you gotta do. You just gotta focus on why you couldn't do what you did, and then just work on that. Like hit the gym, like shoot. Like I know a lot of players like I want to bring up your guest, Curtis Gabriel, that you just had on. Like I've seen his Instagram stories, and he's stick handling a ton in his videos, and like he prides himself on that. So it's like, if you're not good at something, just keep doing it and keep doing it, and eventually you'll get better, and like it'll be easier for you. So just work on that consistency. Like consistency is key. So just work out, like do anything you can to get yourself better there.
Yeah. Like if you go back and listen to my first episode on the Athletes Podcast, it's atrocious, man. So, but we're almost 60 episodes in now, and you start to learn, you have fun, you enjoy the process, you figure out what's working, what isn't working, and you go from there. Curtis is a great example. He's guy's playing now, just signed a contract with the San Jose Sharks, and he's incredible. But his role is he fills the enforcer role, right? He's out there, he's trying to put bodies through the boards. He's trying to make sure that the guys he's playing against don't have any interest in playing against him ultimately, right? And he wants to make sure that they don't want to be stepping on that ice, and they don't want to be getting hit from him, because they know he's going to be going after him day in and day out, and he's going to be relentless. So how does he continue to be a factor on the ice outside of when he's playing that enforcer role? He's identified the fact that, hey, I need to work on my stick handling. I need to be able to shoot the puck really well. I need to make sure that I'm in great shape so that if I'm asked to go play a different role or fill a different position, that I can go and do that, right? He can't just be the old school enforcer that goes out for 1 minute, lays a huge body check, gets in a fight, and that's it, right? The game's faster nowadays. The ice is freaking – it's crazy how – much the game of hockey has changed over the past couple of decades. So he's, like I said, he's identified what he needs to do to continue to be at that top level, and he's doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all you can do. And like, there's no, like, the enforcer role has changed a ton since like you said, in the decades, and like the game's a lot faster now. So you got to be fast, even though you are an enforcer, and you have your job's to like be gritty and all that. You still need to be fast and stay up with these guys, and you still need to be in the best shape you absolutely can be. So the game has definitely changed, and it's a lot faster of a game, which is huge for the game, and it's also a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's almost a different sport now, right? You got guys who can fill a plethora of those roles, right? Curtis is a guy who now, I know I'll bring him up again, but he's going and seeing a nutritionist. He's making sure he's working out 4 or 5, 6 days a week. He's not taking days off after he signs a contract. That night he signs a contract, the day after he's doing 2 workouts. He's going on the ice for 2 hours straight. Like that's the kind of work ethic that you need to stay at that top level, and that you need to have to be the best performer, the best athlete, whatever you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all you have to do is just keep working hard, keep grinding. Like you just can't stop. Like it's not worth it. If you're going to do that, it's not worth it anymore. But you just got to keep doing it consistently and keep working out, keep doing whatever you can to get better. And like everything will fall in place eventually, hopefully. So the part of the journey is awesome. Like the journey is such an unreal ride that like you have to experience to like believe it.
100%, dude. It's like Gary Vaynerchuk says, he wants to buy the New York Jets one day, but if he doesn't end up buying them, he's not going to be heartbroken, because he's enjoying what he's doing now, and he's enjoying the process.
Yeah, exactly. The process is the most important thing there is, and you just gotta have fun with it as well. Like, even though it is a grind, like you gotta have fun. Like, if you're not having fun, like, then what are you doing? Like Flurry. So Flurry's a good example of this. Like, he's in the NHL. He's always smiling, always having fun. Even if he loses, he's always having fun out there, and it shows in his game and how consistent, how good he is because he's having fun.
Yeah, Dylan Ferguson, who's a goaltender in the Vegas Golden Knights prospect pool. I had him on the podcast previously. He's a good buddy of mine. Actually, we played a bit when we were younger. We went to same goalie training, Golden in the Net. But he talked about how much fun Fleury has in the dressing room with the boys. Like, he's a jokester. He loves to get out there, and I think that's why Fleury's had such a long career where he's been able to bounce around to different organizations now, having played in Pittsburgh, now with Vegas, likely going somewhere else. Who knows? We'll see if we see him in Seattle. But he's a guy who doesn't take himself too seriously. He has fun out there. He's poking fun at guys during the playoffs. Like, when most guys are taking it super serious, he's out there smiling. You can see it through his cage. That's the kind of guy he is, and that's why he's been so successful as a goaltender, as an athlete, as a human being, because the power of a smile is an incredible thing. And, having the ability to have fun, have a laugh, chuckle a little is important in life. It's undervalued.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, he just proves it. Like, you got to go out there, have fun, and everything. Don't take yourself too seriously. Like, of course, get serious when you have to, but like, also have fun. Have fun with it and just enjoy it.
Yeah, what was it? Was it Alex Tuck who was just on Spittin' Chicklets a week or two ago, and he was talking about Fleury, who he believes it was Fleury. I don't think it was confirmed, but basically he sewed up his pants, he chopped up his tie, he basically had all of his equipment sewn up, thrown around together, so he couldn't even get out after his practice. He was in trouble. But like, that's the beauty of, obviously, when you're playing in the NHL and you're making millions of dollars. There's times when you can have fun and not take life too seriously. There's obviously people who aren't as fortunate as that, but again, enjoying it and having fun along the way is something that can't put a price on that.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't have said it better there. So do you have any cool stories or moments from being an athlete and playing sports that you'd like to share?
From my man, it's interesting. You've asked some about my career. Mine's pretty boring as an athlete, honestly. Like, I played a lot of different things. Man, my first year playing football, I broke my wrist. Actually, this is a good story. It's Halloween Day. Okay, so it's October 31st. I'm 15 years old. It's grade 10. Going and playing a football game. I go up for a block. I'm playing tight end. Go for a block. Boom. I hear a crack in my wrist. I'm like, oh shit. Get off the field. I'm like, okay, whatever. I've got a hockey game that night, so I've playing multiple sports. I'm like, oh man, whatever. I'll survive. It's obviously it's sore. I think whatever. Maybe I just tweaked it. It's sprained. Whatever. I'll survive. So we go back on the bus. We get home. My dad's picking me up straight from football. We're meeting at the school, and then we drive out to Chilliwack, an hour away, to go play my hockey game. Obviously, Halloween night, everyone's excited to play. We get to go out afterwards, whatever. So my wrist is sore at this point, though, man. I can't even move it. I tell Pops, I'm like, hey, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play tonight. Like, it hurts. He's like, oh well, but gotta suck it up, man. I'm like, all right, dude. Well, I guess I'm going for it. So I couldn't even tie my skates. So I have other players in the dressing room getting my gear on for me because I can't even move my wrist. So I get out onto the ice. I've actually physically taped my blocker and my stick together so that it's basically held in place. And for a goalie, that's not ideal, given like if you have to play the puck, whatever. I just told my coach, I'm like, man, I'm not going to be playing the puck today, so don't expect anything extravagant from me. So I played 5, 6, 7. I think I played 10 minutes of that game. And later found out that I had a broken wrist, completely fractured. So I came out of that game. The other tendy went in, but that's probably the craziest story. And my dad, just telling me to suck it up, and it's such an old school mentality to have of suck it up. And but crazy to think back and look back on. I think I made 9 saves but couldn't suck it up for the whole game. But that was, I guess that's my biggest story for myself as an athlete. But honestly, over the past, 60 whatever episodes we've got now, working with and talking with these athletes, I've learned so much from them and heard some amazing stories. Luke Gazdic, who's been on the show twice, he's an individual, like he was an enforcer in the NHL as well. And just hearing some stories off air of him being with Connor McDavid, Taylor Hall, living with them for a year, and the amount of fun that those guys get to have at that level is something. It's pretty cool. It's pretty special to have that opportunity, and just being able to shoot the shit with those guys is super rewarding for me, and I really appreciate them taking the time out of their day to do it too. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And that must have been brutal to be playing with a broken wrist, and like you never want to go out, but like I can imagine that you could not move it, and it was hurting super bad, that you're just like, I gotta get out, and you got pulled. And it's,
I was putting my team at a disadvantage at the end of the day, if you got to be a team player, right? Like that would be selfish of me to try and stay in that game and ultimately risk further injuring myself and letting in a weak goal because I couldn't move my wrist, right? Like that's ridiculous. If a player went out there when he had a broken foot and couldn't skate, but he wanted to stay out there because for his own pride and sake, it's he'd get ripped apart too. So it was probably a stupid decision in hindsight, but you know what, live and learn, right?
Yeah, exactly. Live and you learn, and it's awesome hearing these personal stories because it brings everything a lot closer together too. So it's definitely a lot of fun hearing these stories from, like, especially from your career that you had with the game. So it's definitely brings that personal aspect to the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So going on to your podcast, like the Athletes Podcast, like how do you come up with the names? Were you just like, we want to talk about to athletes, and then the Athletes Podcast just came up? But like, what went through with like the names? And I'm sure you had other ideas for names as well. So like, what made the Athletes Podcast pop up to you?
Yeah, I think it was 2.5 years ago now. So I've had the podcast for a year and 4 months now. We're coming up on, and I think it was over 2 years ago now that I was graduating from university, and I had the idea. I'm like, I want to work with athletes. I want to talk with them, learn from them. And I went on GoDaddy, and I said, what are some potential names? I looked it up, and that handle was available, theathletespodcast.com. And I'm like, man. So I scooped it up, spent $20, didn't even use it for 6 or 8 months, right? I had no idea what I was doing, what I was getting myself into, but I knew that was kind of a cool name. And it's, it's an all-encompassing, doesn't have to be just for athletes, doesn't have to be just for coaches. I love sharing athletes' stories, and it's performance, it's lifestyle, it's how you can benefit from training like an athlete, it's how you can benefit from implementing these different recovery techniques. Like, it's cool. I get jitters just thinking about how far it's progressed over the past year and a half, and man, we're still so new in the process, but it's we're taking baby steps along the way to try and become just this show that's going to ultimately showcase and be a resource, a platform for athletes to share their stories, to share what works for them, how they've overcome certain difficulties in their life. And there's no one blanket answer to how to go to the NHL or how to make the national volleyball team, but when you hear stories from national volleyball team players and NHL players and NBA coaches and trainers, those are the kinds of stories and insights that I wish I had as a kid and as a youth growing up. As an athlete, that would have benefited me tremendously to know the way that Curtis Gabriel was training, so that maybe one day I could do that. And so that's what I want to do with the Athletes Podcast, is provide these insights to people and share it with the next generation of athletes, and hopefully they can benefit from it moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most valuable information you can get out of the podcast. And like both of our podcasts, like I want to help other people get better and like perform at their best and learn from these guys, because these guys are the best in the world and they're playing professionally for a reason. So you definitely want to get that information out, get the inside, the behind the scenes of what a professional athlete goes through and like how they've been training, how they go throughout their day, what their mindset's like, because mindset's a huge thing. So it's important to get like, because like a lot of the players, like they've had rough patches where they have to like sit down, reevaluate stuff that's going on, just correct it and make themselves better. So it's definitely valuable information that's getting out, and I hope everyone uses it to the best of their ability.
Yeah, man, keep doing what you're doing too, right? It's not easy to get random people ultimately. Like, it's hard. Podcasting is not easy. It's not something I would recommend for anyone to do. You got to be out there. You got to have a personality. You got to share some personal information at times, right? But as long as you're honest and you provide valuable content to these individuals and they see what it's worth to listen to you for 45 minutes and they can gain something, even if it's one little tidbit of information every episode, you can make an impact on that person's life. And it's incredible how valuable that can be long-term for someone.
Yeah, exactly. And just the podcasting community as a whole is like super small, and like we're all able to connect in some way or another. And just like I'm having you on the show right now, and it's a super small community, and it's a great community to be a part of.
Definitely, dude.
Yeah. So going into like your podcast, like what were some of your expectations when you first started the podcast compared to like where it's at now?
I think I didn't really know originally going in what it was going to turn into. I didn't have some clear goals, and as I'm saying that, I still don't have an end goal as to what it's going to be, or because I want to stay fluid. I want to build it to where it's something that if you're a figure skater, it's going to provide value to you, or if you're a triathlete, it's going to benefit you in some degree to listening. So I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, right? Like, I listen to him frequently, and that's kind of where the idea stemmed from. It's the sense that I can provide a one-stop shop for athletes to come to learn, listen to, two people having some fun, three people if we got a couple of guests. Like, it's an opportunity to learn from these incredible individuals and what they do on a day-to-day basis to be who they are. And, my goal now is to just continue sharing these stories with people, right? I want to be able to, go on a walk with a Luke Gazdic or go on a walk with Connor McDavid because, we look similar, and it's going to be fun because I can share what he's been doing over the past 23 years to be successful. That's where I think that the Athletes Podcast can succeed, is because I have a desire to learn and to share those insights with other people. And I think it's valuable information. At the end of the day, if you're not providing valuable content to people, they're not going to listen. So making sure that I do that day in and day out, that I'm prepared for my interviews, that I'm prepared to talk with these high caliber athletes and share what they do. That's the key to making sure that it's going to continue growing. And, I don't want to say that it's going to be a multi-million-dollar business, because it might not be, or it could be eventually, right? I'm enjoying the process. Like I said, we're nearly a year and a half in. I still don't get incredible downloads numbers, right? Like, by no means are we a Mind Pump Media or a Joe Rogan, right? It's, we're still grasping for viewership, but it's learning what people want to listen to and figuring out, okay, asking about what they eat in the morning might not be valuable, but asking, what their suggestions are as far as eating for performance is going to benefit people. So it's a learning process, and I keep using that word. I sound like a parrot, but it's just day in and day out figuring out what's going to be best for you, for your listeners, and for the people who want to consume your content.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. You couldn't have said it better than that. It's like you've had a ton of guests on, ton of like NHL guests, like other high performing athletes? Like, what goes into like a great interview podcast that you guys have found out that works for you guys?
Man, first off, I have to be prepared. If I don't spend time doing my research, figuring out who that athlete is inside and out, what they do on a day-to-day basis so that I can, nitpick and dive deeper into why they do that. That's number one for sure. And honestly, the guest is huge. If they want to come on, if they're excited to be on, to be interviewed, that makes a big difference. The audience can tell right away if someone wants to be there or doesn't. So making sure that you are an intriguing individual, that you ask the right questions, that's crucial. Because if you have someone who's not interested, who doesn't want to be there, who's just doing it to be recorded, it's going to sound like shit and no one's going to want to listen. And you can tell, you're going to see that in your stats right away. People are going to drop off. But making sure that you get guests who are excited to be on your podcast, who are excited to learn and listen to what, going back, doing some research, like who's Jack? What does he do? Oh, he's a goaltender. Okay. He's a Steelers Colts fan. He clearly likes the NFL. Those are different things that, a guest should also likely be doing when they come on. Why has Joe Rogan been so successful? He has people dying to get on his podcast to talk with his 10 million listeners, right? That's where it's building an audience that's interested in who you have on and making sure that you ask those right questions that feed your audience. Because at the end of the day, they're hungry for those insight, for that knowledge. And if you don't provide them with the right food, it goes back to like, you're either going to give someone fast food or you're going to give them the hearty, nutritious nutrients that they need. And making sure that you provide those dense nutrients is the key to fostering something that's going to be long-term, building a great audience. So there's so much, but I can't give one piece of advice. It's making sure that you're knowledgeable, making sure that you bring on the right people that are going to benefit you, not only personally, but professionally. Like, just keep going with it, keep enjoying it, and make sure that you dive deep into who you think is going to benefit you most and your platform the most and your listeners the most at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. And it's fun recording interview podcasts and just like learning about like everything they've been doing, like all the information you get from what they've done to become that great performer that they are. There we go, the Athletes Podcast hat.
Yeah, dude, I figured I should put that cap on, get it in there.
Yeah, so like you've had plenty of guests on. It's like, who's been some of your favorites? Like, it's hard to pick. Like, I know, but like, who's been like some of the great like interviews that you've had on?
Yeah, honestly, every single one keeps getting a bit better every time. If I'm being honest, the last couple we've put out, when this goes live, it'll likely be that our second interview with the Mind Pump Media team goes up. Those guys are incredible. They podcast for a living. They've been doing it for 6 years. They have so much knowledge and insight. Adam Schaefer, Justin Andrews, Sal DiStefano. So, those 3 episodes are crazy. They're bangers. Like, I hope that for those listening, go out and check it out. But honestly, it's tough to narrow it down or pick one specific individual. Curtis's was awesome because I got him fired up. We've got mutual buddies, so we get to shoot the shit. We've got similar interests. Like, he's an awesome guy. But I could go down the list, and every one I could find fun times. Like the McNamara twins, the 2 women, I should say now, but they're playing in the national Canadian volleyball team. We grew up in neighboring high schools, and everyone knew about who the McNamara twins were, and now they're playing pro sports. So, and Luke Gazdic, like, he's just an absolute beauty. We went for beers. Like, man, I could go up and down. It's so much fun, and I appreciate every single person who I get to interview and talk to on the Athletes Podcast. There isn't one in particular that's stands out. They're all great for different reasons, and that's what keeps me coming back, and that's what makes me enjoy it.
Yeah, you really can't pick a favorite. Like every interview we've had on the podcast, like they're a favorite for sure. Like there's like 50 favorites. Like you can't just pick one. Like they all provide different information, different valuable information that they've learned, they've experienced. So it's definitely hard to pick, and like you honestly can't pick a favorite.
Yeah. The couple that I listed there are fantastic, but every single other one is good for different reasons, man. And that's the beauty of it. It doesn't get better than that.
Exactly. So let's finish off this podcast with the AP Tour. So earlier this summer, you went on something called the AP Tour, which is the Athletes Podcast Tour, where you went and visited some of your guests you've interviewed. So, like, how was that? And like, are there plans on going round two?
Dude, the AP Tour was legendary. I actually didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was a freaking time. So we went 5 days. We went up to Toronto. We hit up Ottawa, Montreal, and we did in-person interviews. It was crazy. We lived a rock star lifestyle for 5 straight days. Definitely didn't get enough sleep. We spent time in hotels, Airbnbs, whatever we could do on the AP budget. But man, like, so much fun. Yeah, we do have plans to do a second, definitely. I think the plan is to go from Ontario here and drive out west, potentially take a little Sprinter van, maybe crash in that over the week or two that we spend going across Canada. But dude, so much fun. Obviously, with COVID, we had to abide by some of the restrictions that are going on, but an absolute blast, man. Like, was it day one? We went to Toronto. We did a workout. We went and had beers with Luke Gazdic, walked around his hometown of York, Ontario. Then we went out, worked out with Natalie Allport. She kicked my ass on day two. We did an ultimate Frisbee workout. I learned how to play that sport. You know, we went and golfed with Ryan Culkin, who plays with the Laval Rocket, on day 3. We met Farm Athlete on day 4, who's just this absolute monster human being. Like, I had a crazy time with him. And then we went and met Demi Chalkias, who's a race car driver. She's got incredible talent, and she's a super honest, energetic individual who's just got a huge, insanely bright future in the sport of racing. And especially in a sport that's so male dominated, it was so cool to be able to chat with Demi for those 45 minutes and have a real conversation about, you know, the struggles that are associated with being a female in that sport and what she's had to overcome. So the AP Tour was, like I said, legendary. There's still footage that we have that we're sifting through that we're going to be coming out with. If you haven't, I highly recommend you check out our YouTube channel where we share some of that stuff. It's awesome. We just have a blast of a time. It's going to happen again. It's something that we're likely going to do on an annual basis. And I can't wait for AP Tour round 2.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I saw some of your videos from the tour, and it just seemed like it was an unreal time. And like, you guys were having a blast doing it, and it was just so much fun for you guys to be a part of an experience.
Yeah, we're like, man, training, working out all day, and then beers at night. We go through Ottawa. We end up in Montreal. There's a restaurant in Ottawa that says, "Hey, come back down. We'd love to host you." Like, you end up going back. You get drinks. You're meeting people. Like, dude, when you're out having fun, that energy is infectious. So if you can have that translate to meeting other people, building those relationships, building your network out, there's nothing better than being social and meeting people and having fun along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Couldn't get better than that. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So is there, do you want to plug in your podcast now and where anyone can find you guys and your social medias and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, you can find the Athletes Podcast on any of your streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube. I highly recommend you go check it out. Again, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's cool to be able to share with like-minded individuals. Like I said, like, it's not every day that you come across people that have similar aspirations and goals. And I like being able to share this stuff. I will definitely share it whenever you get this out to me. And man, for everyone listening, support what Jack's doing, what I'm doing, what people are doing. It's not easy to put yourself out there. It's not easy to just continue grinding away when you have, a couple hundred people listening, maybe, or a couple thousand. It's incremental. It's a snowball effect. And, long term, we're going to have a lot of fun with this kind of stuff. And if you enjoy doing it, then keep doing it, man. My Instagram is @DaveStark1. I think my Twitter is StarkDave1. I don't use Twitter. I suck at it, man. I got to get better. But Yeah, check out the Athletes Podcast. Would love to hear of people who continue following it. Leaving reviews are awesome. But Jack, really appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, no problem. So everyone go follow, subscribe, review the Athletes Podcast. And it's just an awesome podcast. So go take a listen. You get some valuable information out of that. But Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time, and we should do this again sometime soon.
My pleasure, dude. Anytime you want to chat, let me know, and we'll do round 2.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.